By Ranatar, the City of Chaos is explored one tile at a time. So you'll choose one of the minis, it doesn't matter which one, and you start on the X. Now, movement in the game is controlled by an 8-sided die. You roll it, and then you have to move that full amount unless you enter a location. So I'll roll the die, and I got a 6. So he will move 1, 2, 3, and as I leave the edge of one tile, I get to start up another one. And 4, 5, 6. Alright, because I ended my turn on an empty tile, meaning there's no one else on the street, I have to draw an action card. Alright? Let's give it a read. It says, a shifty man in a long shabby coat crosses your path. Suddenly his thick bushy beard slides off his chin and flutters to the ground. Whirly whiskers, one size fits all, mutters the spy, bending down to pick up his disguise. Do you interact with this shady character, buy his beard for 1 groat, or try to steal the beard? Well, money is tight at this point in the game, and I'm not a thief yet, so I don't really want to risk stealing the beard. It probably won't end well, so I'm going to interact with him. What that means is I'll take the Tome of Chaos, and I will look in the front section. I can either greet, help, or threaten the spy. I'm going to go ahead and help him. I'm kind of a goody two-shoes, and now I will roll the die with symbols, and I got this one. So on the spy here, it says, because I rolled that, I turn to paragraph 126. If you're familiar with Choose Your Own Adventure game books from the 80s, this is what that's like. So, spy. It says, word on the street is the farmer is looking for his son, who went missing shortly after becoming apprenticed to the Archmage Zemotar. Alright, so it says I get to take clue card number 16. What does that say? Well, I'm not going to tell you, because that is going to help me figure out how to continue exploring the city and defeat the chaos that's attacking it. And I don't really want to give that information away. Now, I will roll another die. I will roll the 8-sided die again, and let's say, just for instance, I rolled that 6 again. Alright? So, I'm going to move on to a new tile. 1, 2, 3, 4, and like I said, because I'm ending my turn on a location, I don't have to move the full amount of the die. So now I draw a location card, flip that over. It says, blackened chimneys cough huge clouds of acrid smoke into the city sky. You found the main cause of the smog which chokes the streets. Before you, children are tugging at metal carts filled with all sorts of refuse as they head towards a billowing furnace. A rough-voiced man carrying a cat-o'-nine-tails urges the children on to greater efforts, wielding the whip viciously. Do you talk to the children, talk to the supervisor, or enter the factory? I'm going to talk to the children. So I take the Tome of Chaos, go to paragraph 4 here on one of the first few pages. It says, factory. You try to interrupt the children from their labors, hoping to get an explanation of what's going on at the factory. However, the children ignore you, casting fearful looks at the brutish supervisor. He is watching you with angry eyes. Deciding enough is enough, he moves menacingly towards you. Do you retreat from the supervisor, leave the mill and end your turn, or do you square your shoulders and wait for the supervisor to reach you? Go to 198. Well, I'm going to just leave the mystery there for you, but you would continue to explore paragraphs until the encounter resolves itself. Now, like I said earlier, anytime you explore a location, you then take the location card and you put one of these plastic stands on it. And from now on, this room is going to be the factory. So anyone else who goes here can have that same experience. Or if you wish to stay here or return here later, you can explore the other options that are on the card. Combat is generally one of the more difficult things to explain in a game like this, so I'm going to do one quick round just to show you what it's like. Let's assume I roll a 4 and move 1, 2, 3 onto a new tile. 4. And since the tile is empty, I'll draw an action card, flip, and this one is the Rapid Dog. I'm going to choose the option to stop and fight. So I will take the rule book and turn to the combat table, and there is the Rapid Dog. He has a body point of 6, which are the hit points in this game, an attack of 2, a defensive 1. I won't. The heads represent a moral lapse in the game, and there aren't any. So, and then if I defeat him, I turn to paragraph 279. He also has a special ability where, after each round of combat, I roll the Cube of Chaos, and if it's a Star of David, I'll go to paragraph 280. Hint, it's not good to go to paragraph 280. So, we will lay this out here so we can remember all those numbers. Alright, gameplay, the combat in this game is resolved through cards. Now, I'd take one enemy combat card for each enemy out there and lay it down here. Alright, then I will take my own combat deck, and if you'll notice, some of the cards have a high offense, some of them have a high defense, and some of them are a little more balanced. I'm going to play it just a little bit safe, and I'll do an attack of 5 and a defense of 2. Now, I'll reveal the enemies, which would have been drawn by another player if this wasn't a solo game, and we'll line it up to compare and see who wins. Alright, so my attack of 5 versus his defense of 3, but he did have a -1, so that means I have an attack of 5 versus a defense of 2. So I scored 3 hits, reducing his count from 6 to 3. Now, I started out with a body... every character starts out with 10 body points in the game, so every player character. So when you take a look, his attack of 3 versus my defense of 2, remember his attack goes up to 5, so it's 5 versus 2, so my body points drop from 10 to 7. Now, before we had resolved it, if I had had a weapon of some kind or an armor, I would also play those beside it to represent if they would help me or not. For instance, let's take a cudgel, which is a simple weapon. It has an attack of 1 and a defense of 1. So if I'd had that, he would have gotten 1 more hit, and I would have gotten 1 less. And we roll the die. Oh, I got the Star of David. So I'm going to have to turn to paragraph 280 and deal with what happens. But we'll leave that as a mystery. Now, because neither I nor the Rapid Dog died, combat in the next round will either continue or I will choose to try and run away. To do that, I'll roll the die, and I rolled a 7. The enemy will roll the die. He rolled a 6. So I successfully escaped the Rapid Dog if I'm able to get off the tile with that movement count. Otherwise, he runs me down and we enter a new round of combat where I don't get to draw a card. There's also player versus player combat in the game where it's resolved the same way but with both player decks. And there's also the option of cooperative attacking where if a player is in the same tile as you, they can assist you in making an attack. For me, City of Chaos only has one drawback, and that's the playtime. It is immense. My brother Evan was cool enough to give of his time so that I could review this thing properly, and our playthrough probably took 6 hours over multiple sessions. And when we got to the end, we had to start fibbing a bit just so that we could finish. And that was with 2 players, so you can imagine how much longer it might take with 5 or 6. You see, you're constantly moving from location to location, and it can take 4 or 5 turns to do that, even if they aren't very far away. There are items that help you to make that much faster, but they don't always show up, and when they do, they're either they're very expensive. And the groats in the game are very difficult to acquire, especially early on. The designer's aware of this, and he's given a couple of rule differences that you can check out on Board Game Geek in the forums. The main thing he's suggesting right now is to take kind of 2 turns at once. For instance, you would roll the die twice in order to do your movement and only take an action card at the end. And for combat, you would do 2 rounds per turn instead of just 1. We tried those rules out near the end of our play, and it really sped things up. I like those rules a lot, and I think they're the perfect start to really making this game just a well-oiled machine. Now, I have a couple of suggestions in the meantime, not big ones. First off, I would say each time you turn over a new unexplored tile, that player should be rewarded 1 coin. And I think that'll help get a lot more currency in the game a lot faster, which will help get the items you need to be able to progress. My other suggestion would be to remove all of the just plain streets from the game that don't have locations at all on them. That way the board is going to be much smaller, there's going to be less time just performing actions, and it's really going to make the footprint of the game much smaller, which also helps. I don't know if I read too many choose-your-own adventure books as a kid or if I played too many games of Zork, but there's something about the game system in City of Chaos that just really makes it one of the most unique experiential games I've had the pleasure to play. If you enjoy paragraph-driven adventure games, or if you enjoy just a game that takes you on a journey, I cannot recommend City of Chaos highly enough. If you can find it at an affordable price, you're going to want to grab it. Most games have been going for well over $100 on eBay, but I did see one sneak by for under $60. So it is possible to get the game at a pretty affordable price, and I hope you're able to grab it. And like I said, please check out the interview we did with Martin Oliver. I'm really proud of how it turned out, and join us next time for Star Wars Epic Duels.